Mr. Cox, how you doing this
How
evening,
you
brother?
doing there, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Good to see you again, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. As usual, we're gonna try to get some good information today. Gents making sense.
Yeah, as always, man. And we got a good topic today, man. With everything that's going on with the federal government, with layoffs and trying to close down agencies and all of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, man. See if there's any real impact to federal services as well as impact to states or local governments. Is there impact to people around the country? Because there's this narrative that only people in Washington D.C. area work for the government, as opposed to understanding that you got federal governments in every state. I mean, federal buildings in every state to
Yep.
provide services. So we're looking forward to this conversation. So let's get at it.
Okay, to kick it off today, I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight and statistics on the federal workers layoff, what they got going on right now. Overall workforce for federal government employees, they employ over 3 million workers, and that's excluding military personnel. So 3 million civilian workers and stuff. So to get right into what we're trying to talk about today is Donald Trump and Doge and Elon Musk, our favorite uh,
Grifter.
grifter. Yeah, he's what he's trying to do is draw down the American workforce, and I don't know what makes him so. Just because he runs they call it a successful company, but his company is successful by and large because they got federal government contracts and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're feeding as taxpayers, we're feeding a lot of money into his businesses and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
when you got federal money going into your business, you're able to do different things with your money
Mm-hmm.
because that federal money is steady money, you know?
Sure.
So, so uh, this thing about him being such a great businessman, I can tell you a lot of small businesses that got federal government contracts that really put them in the black because of those federal contracts. The federal contracts are some of the most sought after contracts around, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, so we're gonna try to show you what they're trying to do, and they're taking the easy route first. Um, have you before I get started? Have you heard anything about the mass deportation lately?
No, you're not going to hear anything about it, man.
Have you
Well,
heard anything about?
right. I've said that since day one. Is
Yeah,
that
have you
the
heard anything about egg prices going down and milk prices going down?
yeah.
No. Have you heard anything about gas prices going down?
Like I said, man, I've always said this is President Trump and all of his, followers. They're grifters. They for 2 years, all they did was blast through the media. Who, again, I will say the media is the tip of the spear of white supremacy. And the media ran with the stories of, oh, we're going to deport all these people out of the United States, and we're going to negotiate the Ukrainian and Russian into the war, and people bought into it. And now that he's president and he has the ability to do it, they're not going to deport a bunch of people out of the country because the same people that support Donald Trump are the people who hire these illegals. The big businesses that hire these illegal people to come in the country, they're not going to let them be deported. They're not going to do it. Prices aren't going to go down because grocery stores and the Walmarts and the Targets and the big box stores, they've been ripping us off for years. It has nothing to do with supply and demand. It has to do with greed. But that's what they do, and people in
Yep.
this country fall for it every single time.
Yep. So Elon Musk on this thing that everybody likes so much is this thing, they think the same thing that we've seen in the military. You remember back in the 90s when we had our drawdown, when
Yep.
they came in and they said we got to get rid of so many people in the military and we got to do it really fast. So we're gonna offer 15-year retirement and
Mm-hmm.
and those of you that don't take your 15-year retirement, if you're in a non vital career field, you might not be able to stay in the military and you'll get kicked out and everything, you know. So we've seen this before, and we saw the results of what happened after they did this big drawdown and they found out they didn't have enough people to do the work. Then they had to do a big recruiting strategy and they couldn't get back to levels. This do more with less thing is going to be a failure. You can't ask people that are already overworked to do more with less. It's just not possible. So the easiest way for him to do this is to focus on laying off probationary employees. These are employees that just got started working, and as of March 2024, there were 220,000 federal employees that were on probationary status. So, long story short, he wants to get rid of most, if not all, of these people, so that he can say we cut the workforce by 220,000 in my first month working here. Then, if that don't work, we're looking at deferred resignation offers. And what a deferred resignation offer is, uh, 8 months severance pay for volunteer to resign. Approximately 75,000 workers accepted this offer so far. Approximately 75,000. And what I'm hearing now is people that decide to um, resign now, that offer is off the table, and you're basically gonna get 4 weeks severance pay or something to that effect. That's what I've heard lately. Don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that one. Uh, Layoff notices. So what they'll do after that is the Office of Personnel Management. These are the people that manage all the federal workers for the most part, has given agencies until a specific deadline to issue these notices. So these agencies are going to have to issue notice of layoffs to probationary employees, uh, and they have a deadline to do it. The question is, what is the impact of these going to be on these agencies? And these are some of the agencies we're talking about: Department of Veterans Affairs, Center for CDC and Prevention, have been significantly affected. For example, nearly 1,300 probationary employees at the CDC are being forced out. Okay, so we 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 we've we have some kind of idea how this worked because we've worked in the military, and you work for the state of Virginia now. Uh, does any of these layoffs uh, or uh, or forced resignations or buyouts, do they have any effect on the state level?
Of course, because I mean, at the state levels, the state receives money, funds for certain programs that the local governments, receive to do things necessary to, maintain the health. I mean, the CDC provides not just guidance, but they provide funds to ensure certain diseases aren't catching on and people are getting caught up at preventive programs and things like that. So yeah, it's going to eventually trickle down. States like the state that I live in, the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have a surplus. We have a significant surplus. Virginia always has a surplus. But part of that is because a lot of people that live in the Northern Virginia area work for the federal government. And we pay a lot of taxes. Therefore, Virginia can provide the federal government with a lot of money, and then we get some of that back. So it is absolutely going to affect people here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's going to affect people in DC, and it's going to affect people in Maryland down the line. That's what's so idiotic about this policy, is that people in this country, for some reason, think that government workers only work in Washington, D.C. That's not even close to being true. You got, between people in Virginia and Maryland and DC, you got about 1 million people who are in DC on a daily basis. Not all of them work for the federal government. The federal government has buildings in every state and almost every jurisdiction, offices that take federally funded or federally run programs and implement them at the local level. So all those people who think that, oh, they're just firing the lazy people, in DC, is going to affect you. You're not going to be able to go to the doctor and get what you normally get. You're not going to be able to go into the Social Security office in your state or in your jurisdiction because they're laying people off. So, as I said last podcast, I just grab my popcorn and my Pepsi, and I'm just going to sit back and watch, because
Yeah,
all those people who voted for this have no concept what it is that they voted for.
yeah, yeah. Well, they'll find out. They'll find out real soon, and I'm glad you related it to places like Washington D.C. The
Mm-hmm.
unemployment rate has skyrocketed in Washington D.C. since these
Sure.
layoffs and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and they don't look at this kind of. There's always a cause and effect.
Sure.
When you do something, something is gonna happen down the line. Like you said, it's a trickle down.
Sure.
It's funny that we use that term when conservative Republicans used to love to use that term for the economy. If the big people, all the people up above and businesses are doing good, then it'll trickle down to the little people. So if they're not doing good, if the federal government is not going to do good, it's going to trickle down and hurt all the people below them also. Some of the implications that have been talked about is, and we can see it here in the Atlanta area, the impact on public health. If the CDC is not working up to snuff or not keeping their end on what they're supposed to do, uh, when we have something like COVID again, we're not going to be prepared for it. And it might be a lot worse. We all know what happened when the current occupier of the White House was there the last time and COVID was here. He told us to drink bleach and stuff. So we'll be getting advice like that again. And we
Sure.
won't and we won't be getting professional advice from people that do this for a long time. 1,300 people, some people in my church here in Atlanta have been laid off. Probationary workers. Some of them have been working with the organization for as long as a year, and these people thought that they had finally got a job and brought them into the middle class, a job that could bring them into the middle class. And then all of a sudden you get a letter, and these are cookie cutted letters too. The letters are not. They're doing most of these layoffs and firings, like I said, through electronic ways and stuff. They're looking at the system, and they're just laying people off, and they're sending the same cookie cut letter to it, and they say your job performance don't add up or don't don't meet our standards. And this is the letter that all other people are getting. Uh, it seems like something illegal about that. It really
Well,
does.
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure that there are going to be attorneys around the country once they get themselves together and step away from the shock. They can get themselves together and start taking them to court. And he's going to lose, just like he lost all those voting rights cases. He's going to lose all these cases if they follow the rules.
If they follow the rules.
Right. I mean, the reality is that as you said, there's a trickle down effect. You start doing away with the CDC, and places like that, people are going to get sick. You can't wish people not getting sick. You can't say, oh, God, please don't let people get sick. No, people are going to get sick, and eventually it's going to get to the people who think they are, who are abusing their power. Eventually it's going to get to Elon Musk's kids. Eventually it's going to get to the president's children or the people around the president. Mm-hmm. They're going to eventually catch whatever it is that's out there. Sure, it's going to hurt a lot of other people before that, but at some point it's going to get to them. Just like when we start seeing the job numbers, all these people are laid off. Where do you think they're going to go? I mean, these people have skill sets that fit into federal work. I don't understand why people look at federal workers and say, oh, well, he's just a federal worker. Well, there's skills that come with being a federal worker, no different than there's skills that come with being a farmer or skills that come with being a coal miner. There's skills of being a federal worker that know how to run through the process and get things done. So what's going to happen when those people don't have jobs anymore and you don't have that? What's going to happen to these seniors who don't have the ability to get answers about Social Security answers about Medicaid and Medicare. What's going to happen when in Florida they can't get that because the president and his hooligans have cut all of the people's jobs that support them? That's
Right.
what the federal government's for. I mean, what is the federal government for? Why am I paying my taxes out of my check?
Thank you. That's
If
the thing
right,
that
if you're
American people need to
right,
be mad. That's
right,
what they need to be mad
you're going
about.
to cut the services that my taxes pay for. If that's the case, then let me keep my taxes. I don't want to pay any taxes. I'll take care of myself. So go ahead.
Yeah, and no, those are all we pay taxes to these people, and right now they're not serving us well, and all this stuff is trickling down, and it's trickling down pretty fast. I will give it another 4 to 6 months before it boil over. If you notice on TV, this past on Monday, President's Day, people were out in the street marching and stuff. There was a big crowd in DC on Monday. You're going to see those crowds swell as it get worse and worse. You're going to see these crowds swell and everything. Um, the thing with the CDC, and I stay there because I'm a little bit familiar. Like I say, the center is here in Atlanta, and the people there that do the good work with cancer research,
Sure.
with heart research, all these different diseases that they spend a lot of money. People donate money uh, to for them to do the research. So if the how are they going to continue to do their research if their budget is being cut and the personnel is not there to do the research? So it's going to have a big effect on what's going on, and the economic ripple effect is going to be really crazy because you're going to have less people paying into the tax system. So once again, the deficit is going to go up. uh, Donald Trump is playing with funny money now, and he's saying stuff. And you got Elon Musk, little tech guys, playing in the computer system, and they're now saying that the deficit is not as high as everybody's saying it is. So, I fully expect them to give false numbers and stuff at some point in time.
Sure. We've been through this before. We've had a
Mhm.
time in this world where what they're trying to do, which is to keep people stupid, keep people sick, is called the medieval times.
Yeah, exactly.
Medieval times in this world, this is exactly what it is that they're trying to do. Nobody read, everybody was stupid, nobody was educated, they didn't know what was going on, nobody questioned anything.
Yeah.
And we lost 200 years of advancement in civilization during that period. And that's exactly what we're doing now. I mean, we have a
Exactly.
bunch of, go ahead.
No, exactly. I'm agreeing with you. That's
Yeah,
what we're doing right now.
that's exactly what we're doing right now. Let's take learning away from people. Let's make people stupid. I mean, you're talking about eliminating the Department of Education and turning it over to states. So we're going to turn our education in the United States over to Louisiana and Mississippi,
Yeah. Wow.
the two worst states in the union for
Yeah.
education, for birth rates, for murder. I mean, you name it. Those two are the worst states in the union. But we're going to turn educating children from those states over to those clowns. I mean, our African brothers and our European friends, they got to be looking at us like, what in the heck are you guys doing?
Exactly. It is comical, but it's so serious though. That the effects that this is going to have on America, and we're in the midst of getting ready to see a big portion of it. People are going to lose their mind when it really hit them. They're
Yeah.
going to absolutely lose their mind.
I mean,
Uh,
really quick before we move on,
mhm.
here's a really good example of how inefficient United States has become as a country. United States was perfectly fine with Apple and all the telephone companies ripping us off for years when they came out with new phones. They
Mhm.
said, we're going to change our charger a little bit
Mhm.
to make people buy additional chargers so we can get more money, right? The
Mhm.
European Union said, the hell with that. That's ridiculous. Why do we have phones when the technology is there? It's not going to hurt any phone to give it the same technology to charge your phone with the same charger. And because the European Union said, then you can't do that anymore, and we're going to sue the hell out of you, Apple and all the phone companies magically changed their charges now, where you can buy one charger to charge any type of phone that you have.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you gotta show these businesses that you mean business. Basically, that's what you gotta do. As consumers, we gotta do that. I'm gonna get down to a real lower level of how this affects uh, a small business, the mom and pop businesses and stuff. At every federal building that you know of, and like they say, all federal buildings are not in the state, and all federal employment agencies are not in DC. I'm sorry, in DC. They're all around in every state. The real small business people at every federal building that you see, what is the one thing you see outside those buildings at 12 o'clock? Food trucks.
Oh yeah.
Food trucks. People bought food trucks, and they know early in the morning and at 12 o'clock and at 4 or 5 o'clock when federal employees get out, they're going to come out there, get their food, sit under the sun on a bright sunny day and eat. That fuels the economy. That fuels the small business people. And now those federal buildings I'm sorry, not the building, but all those federal workers leaving, it's going to hurt those small business people. And they don't have any idea how bad it's going to be. And then you overworking the people that you leave at these businesses.
It's not even just. I mean, DC obviously food trucks are all over the place, but there's also stores. There's stores, there's small cafes, there are restaurants that their entire business is based off of people coming to work in DC and patronizing their place. I know when I go to meetings down there, I go to a coffee shop that's been sitting right next to the building where I go to my meetings at for 20 years. I go in there all the time, give me a cup of coffee, go to my meeting. I leave, I'll grab a cup of coffee when I'm driving home or I'm on the train going back home.
Yeah.
There's delis. People go down there and order food from the delis, cater. All that is federal workers. Mm-hmm. So that's your trickle down effect when it starts to affect them. More than likely, people aren't driving into work. Let's assume you're not catching a train if you drive into work. Well, that means that you're not purchasing gas, right? That means that you're not stopping at 7-Eleven. That means you're not stopping at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Trickle down effect.
It's gonna happen. We'll see it, and the people are going to respond to it. Let's go to our next section on this. How does these layoffs affect African Americans? And because that's what we're really concerned on. This is what our program is about, and this is what we want to give you an overall view. And now we want to get down to the nitty gritty. And before we get into that, I'm going to give you a little demographics on the federal workforce. Racial and ethical breakdown. 61% of the workforce is white. 18.6% is black. Hispanic is 9%, and Asian is 6%. Those are the breakdown. American Indian is 1.6, non-Hispanics are 1.9, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders are less than 1%. The gender breakdown is 56% are male and 43% are female. Veterans, people that have served in their country and get to come back and work in the federal workforce, which Donald Trump do not like. He don't want veterans leaving and then coming back and making more money from the federal government because he wants us to stay broke pretty much. And they want to show our appreciation. We see that as federal government, federal organizations showing their appreciation to us for serving our country. So they're going to give us a leg up on working in federal employment and everything. But 30% of the workforce are composed of veterans, and half of them identify as disabled. Workers with disabilities, 16.6%, and this number has been rising over the years. Senior executive level, 76% of them are white. 62% of them are male. This is the highest level of federal government. So when they haven't really started cutting those jobs yet, but from what I'm told, they're going to start cutting some high level positions the upcoming week here. So just know when they start cutting high level positions, 70%, 76% of those people are white. 60%, 62% of them are white males. I'm sorry. So these are just some of the statistics that shows you about the federal workforce, thanks to Newsweek, USA Today, and AP News on some of these stats and everything. So tell me what you think about that. Just hearing just that little bit there, and then we'll get into how this affects African American and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the statistics don't surprise me. I mean, we all know that. I mean, the majority of people in this country in leadership positions are white men, right? And a lot of the white women in the United States that are in not just positions of authority, but positions are there because of the so-called DEI programs, because they are considered to be a minority. They have been living off the back of black people for 60 years, right? We know that one of the largest providers of employment for African Americans in the United States is the federal government. So I want people to recognize what it is that they're trying to do. They're not trying to necessarily cut the government. What they're trying to do is to prevent people like you and I who share our reflection from being successful. Black folks have always gone to the federal government because we knew states were treating us wrong and wouldn't give us an opportunity. The federal government gave black people an opportunity to be successful based upon our skills. So they attack that. They don't care about anybody else. They want to prevent black people from being in successful positions. They want you to come with your skills and everything that you bring to the table and work for them for next to nothing. That's what they want. I mean, let's be real. Let's just be honest about what this is really about. This has nothing to do with the cutting the government and bringing prices down. This has to do with having white supremacists in the White House as well as his staff who want to see black people working back as domestics. That's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, and
I, I,
people, I'm
I,
saying people need to recognize that that is what this is about. Is that they want to control the government like they do the states, prevent you from getting a job, allow people to come in and look at you knowing you're the most qualified candidate and discriminate against you. That's exactly what they want. They just want it in the federal government. Go ahead.
no, like I said, I agree with you totally. When we talk about demographics, let's talk about racial and ethnic diversity. There's that word that everybody's scared of, DEI, diversity, the first one in there. There have been minor increases in the representation of historically disadvantaged racial groups such as Blacks or African American, Asians, Native Hawaiians, or other Pacific Islanders, American Indians or Alaskan Natives, and persons of more than one race. The percentage of Hispanic federal workers increased by 1.4% over the last 10 years. So Hispanics have look like they've taken advantage over the diversity part of this. Disabilities is the largest growing population in this, so and that falls under DEI also. So
Sure.
the disabled, so that falls. A lot of people don't understand that that falls under DEI, and they have been the number one beneficiaries of diversity and everything. Uh, uh, it really shows that without diversity and include without DEI, we're going to see a substantial loss in the gains that have been made over the years, and the gains aren't that great. When you look at 76% of the senior executives are still white, that's not a good progress there. You know, it really isn't. So, um, my one question on this information is, give me your opinion on the long term effects of Doge, what Doge is doing with the diversity of federal workforce with these cuts and everything.
Well, I mean, look, black folks in this country have seen this game before. This is not a new movie. We've seen this movie before. This is when you get people like Elon Musk, whose feelings get hurt because he recognizes that he's not as smart as he thinks he is. That when people who share his reflection have been telling him for years that he's his genius, he realizes he's not a genius. So what they do is reset the rules. And that's all that's happening now is people in this country have proven that anybody can be successful if they put the right amount of time, skill set, training, education in, can be successful and be good at what they do. But now let's reset the clock. Let's change the playing field so that they have the advantage, which is particularly white men. There are white men in this country and white women in this country who don't like going into interviews and having to compete. They think by the fact that they interview for a job and because they have the basic skills that they should get the job. And what had happened over the last 10 years, for the most part, is that the playing field was becoming even. And you didn't have that advantage. What a lot of companies were doing, a lot of businesses were doing, a lot of government organizations were doing is saying, look, the panels are not going to be a bunch of white males. The panelists are now going to be diverse, meaning that you're going to have an African-American, a Hispanic, a woman. You're going to have multi-race of people on there, multi-gender people, which makes the process fair.
Yeah.
And they don't like that.
They
like coming in and seeing
they're
like going in and seeing a whole panel full of white guys because they look like him. So he feels like he has an advantage. And this is just what they call a backlash. They got tired of it. They're tired of competing because they've never had to compete. And now they're changing the rules to where they don't have to compete again. That's all it is.
They're terrified, and that's why they went out in droves and voted. Sure. They were terrified. That
right.
It's no rocket science behind none of this stuff. It really isn't no rocket science. They were terrified. They're still terrified that life as they once knew it is changing, and they're afraid. And they think
what they're afraid of, and I think this is the best way to put it. What they're afraid of is they're afraid that the people that they did wrong to are going to get in the position to do them wrong. So what they're afraid of is that, oh my God, if Suleiman and the black people get the power that we had, they're going to do some bad stuff to us. That's what it is. That's all it's about. Even though black people in this country have never been that way, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that they're going to be the minority and they're going to get treated like they treat minorities now.
Exactly. And guess who Donald Trump probably got this from? I'm guessing. But Elon Musk, which is hailed from the great country of South Africa, who oppressed people for a long time, is probably giving him the playbook on how to oppress, how to dictate or govern in a majority-minority country. So he's got the playbook. And he's probably trying to share some of that with him and everything. And Donald Trump is playing with it by saying, hey, you white people in South Africa, y'all come to America and we'll expedite your citizenship here because we're going to be the paradise you once had. We're going to make ourselves that way and everything. So I see that we're getting close to our time crunch and everything. But I want to get to one. Want to hear your final thoughts on the survivability of these cuts for African Americans.
Look, I'm you've heard me say this before, and I let me be very, very clear. Black folks, relax, okay? Our people, your ancestors, your grandparents, your parents have been through far worse in this country. Far worse in this country. Black people are the most resilient people in the world, period. Hands down. So relax. Let's develop a plan on how we're going to move forward and fight. That's what we need to do. We can't do anything about the fact that this idiot's in office. He's in office for the next 4 years, nothing we can do about it. But what we can do is hurt them and hurt people who don't have our best interests in mind through our own purchasing norms. Look at the organizations and the companies that have turned their backs on us. And I said this last time, I think I said it two shows ago. Amazon.
Yeah.
You need to think about it. You don't have to purchase everything from Amazon. Amazon turned their back on you. Jeff Bezos turned his back on you.
You see what he did this week, right?
No, I don't know what he do this week.
And real quick, this consumer advocate group took out a full page on the front page and the back page of Washington Post. They wanted to pay Washington Post $120,000 for the ads. And it was basically saying we got to get rid of Elon Musk. It was an anti-Elon Musk ad. And Jeff Bezos pulled the ad before they could put it up.
Of course.
Lost $120,000 in advertisement because he didn't want Elon Musk to look bad.
But that's what happens when you have oligarchs. That's what happens. They control the third rail of the country, and that's essentially what's happened. Like I said, with Amazon, Black folks need to keep in mind who he is and what he did and how he turned his back on you. Target's another one. Target is another one. This is another organization that Target didn't lose any money because of their DEI programs. They didn't lose any money because they're pro-diversity programs. But when Donald Trump told them we're going to take money from you, they turned their back on us. Look at Costco. Costco said we're keeping ours. We think it's beneficial to our company. We think we should maintain it. So what I'm saying to African-American people is, first of all, relax. Okay, we've seen this movie before with America. And then secondly, be very careful of your choices of where you spend money. That's the only thing that they understand.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they understand. It kills me. I ride around and I see all these Black folks driving in Teslas. And I'm like, really? You go out and get this man the amount of money that you're giving him. And this guy, as far as you're concerned, because we know what his people call Black folks in South Africa, kafas, which is another word for the N-word. That's what he calls you. And you go out and spend your money buying a car from this guy. There are plenty of companies around the United States, American companies, that you can buy electric car for, and you go out and buy one from him.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying on it.
And he giving them away right now. And before we go, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what you just said, because it's very important that, like you said, we think about where we're spending our money and everything. But there was on our famous Breakfast Club, they brought a couple of entrepreneurs up there, and these young ladies have a line of clothes that they finally got into Targets, and they're asking African Americans, they're saying, we don't want y'all to not boycott Target. And she said, we'll probably get in trouble for this, but it took us at least 5 years to get into that market. And now we're in that market and we're talking about boycotting Target. They're trying to say, if you can figure out a way, if you're going to boycott Targets, to still buy our products and everything, so there may be some collateral damage if the Black small businesses that are doing businesses with these companies and got their products in these companies, if they don't get out in front of it and say, hey, we know that y'all are boycotting, but this is a Black-owned company. Please support us.
Well, I'm going to push back at it and say absolutely not. That's the problem with our people. It's about them. All they care about is them making money. My point is, look, why don't you sell it online? Why don't you tell people, look, if you don't want to go to Target, here's an opportunity for you to buy that same product online. Progress requires some hurt. We have Black people during the civil rights movement that had to catch 4 or 5 cars to get to work when they boycotted the bus system. Great. Right? They didn't say, hey, my bus is a one-stop shop and I got to do that one. We don't have to ride the bus, but I'm going to give them 50 cents to get to where I need to get. No, Black folks said we're going to boycott the whole shebang.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, I'm not saying that we should boycott. I'm not saying we should boycott Target or Amazon. What I'm saying is that we should be careful where we spend our money.
Gotcha.
That's all I'm saying. There are things in Target that I like, that I will probably continue to buy. But am I going to go into Target and spend $150, or am I going to go into Target and spend $15?
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Great point. Great point. I never looked at it that angle and everything. So that's a great point. There you go. You're getting good information from us once again. This is coming from us. This is not scripted. The some of the stats and stuff I gave you came from sources, but our opinion is our opinion,
Yep.
and we're entitled to it. And we
Yep.
just hope that it helps some people over a period of time. Do you have anything else you want to give to the people before we call it quits tonight?
Man, I think I'm good, but I just want to let folks know, man, that, hey, man, just relax, man. Don't go off the deep end and, start doing stupid stuff, because we are in the business of survival of our community. We've experienced what they're doing in the United States before. Our people have survived it, and we can survive as well. We need to use a scalpel as opposed to a bomb.
Right.
That's what those people understand. They understand money. And so just be careful where you spend your money. Research and find companies that Costco. And I don't even really I didn't have a Costco card.
Yeah.
I was watching when I heard what the Costco CEO said, bought one.
Guess what? I can't even find a Costco near me. So I got to cancel my Sam Club and find a Costco. And I think it's an hour and a half away almost like the commissary run.
Like a commissary. But again, that's part of the pain that I'm talking about. Is that people got to realize, look, you may have to drive further, but you need to support the people who support our community. Sam's Club is a Walmart company.
Right.
They're owned by Walmart. Walmart is the company that turned their back on Black people. As much money as African Americans spend in Walmart on a daily basis, Walmart basically said, and excuse my language and my gestures, but Walmart said, fuck you, Black people.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's essentially what Walmart said to us.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue to go in there and spend your money in a place that has no respect for you and your community, then have at it.
Gotcha. Okay, then give it the particulars once again.
All right, man. As always, man, we're back. We are here every single week. So go to YouTube, Gents Making Sense. Subscribe to our channel, man. You'll get all our new content. We put all of our shorts up on social media, Spoutable, X. We're probably gonna look into I think it's Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, yeah.
Yeah, put some stuff up on Blue Sky, man. If you have any recommendation for us, we have an email account at gentsmakingsense@yahoo.com. Go ahead and send it to us, man. We're gonna keep kicking it every week.
Do it now, or I'll hunt you down. Smash like. Do it.
Get it, do it now. Thanks for bringing up Blue Sky. We're going to look at that very hard and try to get it out there and get some information to the people. Once again, great show. I appreciate everything you do, Suleiman, and we're going to keep pushing hard. And anybody that want to come on the show, that see our show, just send us an email or whatever. And if you got a subject you want us to talk about, just send it, and we will talk about it and get it out there. Okay. Thank y'all once again. Thanks.